Hi, it's been a while because my progression was so slow. I thought I would wait and talk to you again later. And you can probably tell I'm beginning to lose my speech. Also, my right hand is becoming weaker. Um, but I want to talk about diagnosis. There is no diagnosis for ALS except for genetic testing. I received genetic testing because my brother also died of ALS, and so they wanted to know, is this a family version or just the random version? Well, after the after the genetic test, we discovered a lot of things about ALS in my family tree. Um, I I do carry the C9orf gene, which is part of my family tree. Um, but an interesting thing is that before diagnosis, which is in most cases just um, potential until the disease progresses. In fact, I was diagnosed twice. In the second diagnosis, they said, you need to understand that this is not a diagnosis. This is just an expectation. We have to eliminate all the other possibilities. So they really didn't diagnose me at all until the genetic test. So really, I think what matters most is, when did a person recognize the first symptoms? And you usually have to do that in retrospect because normally when people start feeling the symptoms, they right away assume it's something else. For example, when my left arm started to go, we thought it had something to do with an accident, and I kept expecting it to get better, and it kept getting worse. I asked the doctor about this, and he said something very wise, I think. He said, diseases progress, injuries heal. So the fact that it was progressing told us it was definitely something else. But there have been other people in my family who also had ALS, and we didn't know what it was at the time. I traced my family tree, and one of the things I discovered in doing so is that doctors in the old days had an irritating tendency to list the cause of death by whatever the last symptom was. This is my great-grandmother, an immigrant from Ireland. She died at age 70 after 6 years in an old folks' home. And her official cause of death was influenza and paralysis. I have her will, and she signed it with a very clumsy X, even though I know she could read and write. It seems to me very possible that she had ALS, but it was never properly diagnosed. This is my Aunt Geraldine Goggin. She's the granddaughter of my Irish great-grandmother. She had bulbar onset ALS, but nobody knew what it was. My mother said she had difficulty speaking because she was just getting old. She died at 65, by the way. And she had difficulty clearing her throat, and my mother said, oh, there's something wrong with the ventilation in her house. Really had no idea at all what was affecting her. And this is my mother. She officially died of frontotemporal dementia. And my father, who didn't trust doctors, felt for a long time that she was getting better, and he was always telling us, oh, she gets stronger and better every day. But actually it began with a loss of cognition, and gradually she lost muscle control. I feel lucky, actually, that I did not get frontotemporal dementia, which, would be a worse way to go. Now, my brother was a mailman, and he fell down on his route a couple of times, and he thought there was something wrong with his back. So he walked with a walking stick for a while, and when he started to lose speech, he sounded a little like I do right now. He had had some problems with drugs in his youth, and we thought, when he called on the phone, oh my gosh, is he using again? Nobody really knew what was affecting him until about 18 months before he died. And then there was just a flood of information. So, maybe it's our well-developed denial system, or maybe we just do what the doctors do and we try to eliminate things until we find out what it really is. But I'll tell you what, in my case, the genetic test brought an awful lot of things into perspective. We didn't know what my Aunt Jerry had died of. We didn't know what my mother had died of. We didn't really know what my brother had until much later. And I even assumed that my left arm's weakness and so forth was part of an injury. We all assume it's something else before it actually progresses to the point where even a 5-year-old could tell you there's something wrong with you. And the interesting thing is, doctors aren't any better at diagnosing it than a 5-year-old. So anyway, that's where I am today, and just wanted to talk about that, diagnosis and denial. I hope I'll see you next month. I don't want to bore you with my slow progression. I do consider myself very blessed that my progression is so slow, but it also means that I'll probably be in an invalid state for much longer than many people are. Maybe like my great-grandmother. But we'll see. I'll be talking to you later.